kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Richmond International Speedway. And tonight's race is going to be for the Fired Up Esports League. This is going to be the Fraser's Place 125. Not sure why our overlay is saying otherwise right there. We'll be able to refresh that in a moment. But Fraser's Place 125 is going to be 125 laps for this one. Really looking forward to a good event. Should be a lot of fun, at least for the drivers that are out here on the track per se. There's not a whole lot of them, but this kind of track is typically fun for racing. I got Matthew Metler with me for this one. Him and I, we normally have a lot of fun, so we might just kind of ad lib. Might talk about a little bit of sports, a little bit of NASCAR. Might turn into more of a podcast or more like a day show, Matt, considering this unfortunately smaller field, but we can work with it. What do you think?
Hey, you give us something to work with and we'll find a way to make it happen, Jonathan. That's what I always say. But how funny is it that the name of the race is Fraser's Place? And when this track was in its prime back in the 90s, I mean, Fraser was a sitcom, that was doing, probably just as good right on alongside of it. So I don't know if that was set up intentionally or if that's just sometimes how it falls. But Richmond International Raceway, kind of like a North Wilkesboro, if you will, kind of got buried under the rubble. And now we're going through this track renaissance. Richmond's currently getting repaved. So here's another track that's brought back from the dead, if you will, which I'm all about. I think it races great. It's a small track when you look at it from the distance, but don't tell it it's a small track because the way this thing races and the races it produces, always anything but exciting and dull. I mean, just a couple nights ago, had the ARCA cars out there on the racetrack, and these drivers had their hands full just trying to make passes on the racetrack. And it led to some really good high-octane racing. So happy to be here at Richmond tonight, Jonathan. It's the Fuel Fired Up series, man. It's Thursday night. Nighttime's the right time after all, boss.
Sure is the right time as the leaders already took the green flag. Lap 1 is complete, and Whitney, points leader by a large margin, over 50 points. Already takes about a 12-car lead in starting in lap 2. Halfway through lap 2, coming into turn number 3. Now about 14 laps over Andrew Tunn. This is going to complete lap 2 went by this time. But Matt, it's 125 laps. This is not going to be long by any means whatsoever. We got 6 drivers in the field. One's probably going to go caution free. They're going to have to pit around lap 93, lap 94. They have 3 sets of tires. I'm going to go ahead and say the top 3 have a good chance of winning it. Whitney, Tunn, and Clayton White. Those are the top 3 currently. But we're going to talk about some fancy, interesting things. This league has got some pretty neat rules and things like that. And the point system is rather unique. And that's a couple things we're going to talk about as this one goes a little bit further down the wire.
And you know what? And I don't want you guys at home watching the broadcast to get disappointed, but there's a lot of other positives, believe it or not, that can result from having a smaller driver field. Well, one, Jonathan, is, I mean, just for coming into the race tonight, you're getting a top 10 finish. So you're getting a solid points day just for attempting to make the race. The other part is, I mean, if you haven't been running good, I mean, you don't have these Moonlight Series guys out there in the field. Brian Whitney last week was able to capitalize again and punch through. This is going to give you a better shot, a better opportunity of getting a win. And wins do so much, not for you individually as a driver, but for the whole team. That breeds confidence, and I can't tell you, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, throughout automotive racing history, NASCAR, you get a driver a win sometimes, and that's the missing catalyst in the chain of events that catapults them to the next level. So yes, it may be down on count tonight, but there's a lot of good things that can happen for these guys that do show up, especially if they're in a rut.
Yeah, and I want to mention while you were talking, Clayton White, Brian Whitney battling right here. This is what we had last week. Do you remember? Last week at North Wilkesboro, Clayton had a really dominant car. And towards the end of it, Brian Whitney just kind of came out of nowhere and does what he does and won the race. And now, once again, fast forward another week, it's both of these two guys battling one more time. So we know we got a lot of Brian Whitney Nation fans that tend to show up for this race. For anyone watching for Clayton White and any of you guys watching for Whitney, go ahead and like the stream. Mention that you're looking for him. And any of these other drivers, we've got 4 other drivers out there. Go ahead and let's talk about them. Let's start asking questions. Maybe we can answer the questions. We're going to turn this kind of into like a host show instead, because there's not going to be pretty single file for this one. It's going to be dependent on who burns their tires up, who doesn't burn their tires up. If you got any questions for us, the broadcast team, let us know. That's kind of all we can really do here. We do have a handful of people watching the stream. Want to thank you guys. Oh, gee. Still got ourselves a really good battle for the lead right now. Several people mentioning Whitney. Appreciate you guys being in here. You got Samantha Amber, Nikki Cox. Look at these guys battle it out right here. Richmond's an interesting track. It's rather difficult, honestly, in the fact that you got 2 different distinct corners. And if you get a little complacent, you might try to run turns 3 and 4 the same way as you would 1 and 2. And what normally you see happen is you get into the wall, and it's just a bit it's a little bit frustrating because you can see the banking right there coming into turn 3 and 4, a little bit shallower of a corner, I should say, as opposed to 1 and 2. And so the way you drive, it's just a little differently. And because of that, this place is kind of tricky. However, you can't really tell with Brian Whitney and Clayton White as the way they're getting through this track right here, for sure. Clayton White just behind Brian Whitney, doing the best they can so far. Lap 16 of 125. We're getting underway for the Droppin the Hammer 125. This is going to be a fast one. And you're going to blink and it's going to be halfway over, and then it's going to be over. Again, 6 drivers in the field tonight: Clayton White, Brian Whitney, Tyler Travis, Andrew Tunn, Jeremy Grand, and rounding out Chris Mason. Right now, we're going to go through, talk about the paints that these guys are running. We try to put on some more information here and there. But for now, I'm going to take a step away, and I'll be right back. And I hope you enjoy some of the on-track action. All right, folks, back with you now. Thanks for bearing with me for that short break. Clayton White got past Brian Whitney during that time. He's got about a 1 3/4 second advantage over Whitney currently going into turn 2. This is lap 33. Tyler Travis is currently scored in third. Chris Mason has gone a lap down now. And so far, we still have all 6 drivers in this one. And we got more people rooting for Whitney in the chat, too. Thanks for being a part of the event. A little bit smaller field than we normally like to see, but these guys offer really good racing, so this is just a lull. It's kind of getting towards Christmas. People missing the event. They've got things going on with family. Kids have events to go to, things like that. Thursday's pretty popular for school events. I'll be back up next week. Week after that, most likely. And if you're looking for a league and you just happen to be listening to me right now, this is a good one. It's affordable to be a part of. We broadcast them every Thursday. Typically, you're not going to have anything weird or odd happen. It really goes awfully well. It's a fun league, and I enjoy calling the races. There have been some excellent finishes, time in and time again. Something worth talking about with this league is the rules that they have in place. And they've got quite a few, but they're not too different than what you see everywhere else or in other leagues per se. There's a couple rules that tend to stick out. A lot of leagues, they don't clear black flags at all, and you're just at the risk of what happens. And a black flag is, say, for example, you're speeding on pit road. You pass somebody under the caution when you're not supposed to. You have too many incidents and you get flagged for damage. But they will clear black flags in this league depending on what's going on. Like if you're speeding, if you end up turning down pit road to avoid a wreck and you speed, iRacing is going to penalize you for that. They'll clear that flag and you can keep on going down this race. They tend to review wrecks, and every wreck gets reviewed at the end of the race. They tend to assess penalties after that if they believe that it should be or should not be fault. And the leader gets to choose their lane on the restarts, which I think is really unique. Some leagues do that, and some do not. But now here's the one that I think is important, and this is what might help keep drivers a little bit cleaner, a little bit less likely to cause trouble. There's a 1-point penalty per every 10 incident points. And if you've driven these cars in iRacing, incident points are not too hard to come by. Then little bump on the walls, 2 or 4. Touch another car, that's 4. The car hits the wall too, that's also 8. Really easy to get incident points. And the final, there's the penalty system. So you got first offense is a warning. The second event, you're going to be put to the end of the line to start the next event, which I don't think is really severe enough. A lot of these guys are really good. They can go from the back to the front. I think you should be into the line for every restart. That sounds like a good penalty. It kind of makes things exciting, especially if you're really fast and you have to drive through the field with everybody every single time there's a caution. Imagine being up front. There's a caution. There's 2 laps to go. Now you're at the end of the line. Now that's a penalty. And if you have a third offense, you're parked. That's it. You're not going to get to keep racing. At least for that event. Not just that isn't going to work for him.
All right, Jonathan. So you're all about updating the conditions of some of these penalties, huh? You want to make it a little more costly out there on the racetrack for these guys?
Well, all the leagues tend to have an end of line penalty, and at the start of the race, that just doesn't do anything. You got 30 cars, and it's an EOL for the fastest guy in the league. It's not even going to take a pit cycle for him to get from last to up to second or third. I mean, you tell me right now if Brian Whitney, as Tyler Travis, has taken his pit stop right now. Green flag pit stops are starting. This will be the only stop. But you can't tell me Brian Whitney, as fast as he is, can't start last at the beginning of a race and win. It's easy. We've seen him do it.
I mean, it's a gentleman and the driver of that caliber. Yeah, he can do it. Is it going to be a little more challenging? Yes, but not so much for a rookie or a newcomer. It would be much more difficult. But I see your point there. I agree with your logic. So what else you got, Jonathan? Since you want to talk about rules and modifications, and it's kind of nice doing it this way, kind of like a live Q&A/race session here for Fuel Fired Up. While we have the time to do it, I mean, any other penalties or rules that just kind of got you scratching your head at night?
I'm not really sure, other than some gremlins that we've been trying to deal with on the back side of things here.
I'll tell you when I got one for you, the one that drives me nuts. And I know this could open up Pandora's box, but pit road, when you're coming down during a hot pit cycle, and you just slide through the box just a little bit. And I know safety is paramount, and I get it, and I respect safety. But, I mean, sometimes you got the other car pinned in behind you. He's got his car angled out, so it makes it difficult for the driver to get in there. Is it really necessary to penalize someone, I mean, to that degree for just creeping over the line for centimeters? That one drives me nuts. I don't agree with that. I mean, that can have some, you want to talk about race implications. I mean, right there, I mean, it's much easier to come over an EOL penalty than that penalty. I mean, for all intents and purposes, that race is done for you. Go ahead, Jonathan. Sorry about that.
I was just going to say, just trying to ad lib a little bit, trying to put some things together to show y'all something kind of cool here in a minute. I just haven't quite been able to sort it out yet while still trying to control the cameras and keep an eye on what's going on. Clayton White's out front now. Brian Whitney, P2. Jeremy Grand is third. Saw a couple drivers come down pit road already. Top 3 have yet to do so. Yeah,
but kind of looking like how it did last week for the first segment of the race. And I know you touched on it once already. Clayton White, the 53, he looked like the man to beat early on. Was really fast, bad fast, good execution on and off pit road. And then it was almost like a switch flipped, either with, his car's performance or Brian Whitney just decided it was time for him to go. And he poured the smoke on and, he basically left them trailing in his dust by the end of the race. In Whitney Nation, Brian Whitney got the win last week, but history could repeat itself here tonight, Jonathan. It certainly has that feel to it. Haven't seen one caution flag yet. No sign of any in sight, especially when you got 6 competitors out there on the racetrack. Almost like a testing tune. These guys just going out there logging laps. But in this case, hey, it's for points. These positions do count. But hey, sometimes as a race car driver, when you're not, gritting your teeth every single lap, sometimes it's nice to go out there and know you're going to get a good finish and, not have to sweat bullets every single lap of the race.
Yeah, that certainly helps matters, especially when you're kind of at a track like this. This is really good for practice in sense. You've got some people around to compete against, but you're really just kind of in a sense running your race, kind of seeing what's going to happen, and really just kind of going from there, because you don't really know how it's going to turn out unless somebody gets a really large lead, like Clayton White's got 5 seconds over the rest of the competition. But Brian Whitney, we've seen him come from further back before to close that gap. But that's not really... But when you got shorter fields like this, it's a little bit harder to figure out how things are going to... Or it's easier to figure out how things are going to work out because there's just not that much competition to really shake things up.
And the other part is, if you ever wanted to try something completely off the wall during a race and you wanted to have a similar situation where you didn't have the costly effects of results on the line, now is to do it. If you want to try going down there and throwing a right set of side tires on, which shouldn't work, that should go on the left. If you want to try a crazy air pressure adjustment that's within rule specifications, if you want to throw a ton of tape on the race car and see how long it takes before it overheats, now's the time to do it. So, kind of a golden opportunity if you look at the silver lining in some cases tonight.
Yeah, it is, but it isn't, because, there's Brian Whitney who's leading the points, and he's here, so you're not gaining ground on him, especially if you're Clayton White. Clayton White's got to win the race if he wants to try to gain some ground on Brian Whitney, which right now he's ahead by 6 seconds, but we saw this tune last week. He was ahead by 6 seconds. Brian Whitney managed to come back around, and the 7 just ended up in the wall. Trying to see how that happened right there. Unfortunately, I got the hiccups. I don't have the option to go back and see how that happened.
He could have been listening to us and just decided, hey, what's going to happen to my race car if I hit the wall right here? How does it affect the performance over the long run? It was a light tap. It could have happened that way. But yeah, the 7's working the high side of the racetrack, and that's some of the other types of things you can do. You want to see how long, your tires are going to last, or how much faster are you in the beginning of the run versus the short side of the run, running the high side or versus the top side. There's a lot of different things you can do right now and really not have to pay a premium for it. And I guess that's just how my mind works sometimes as a race car driver and analyst. A lot of times I'm in a race car and I'm like, man, I wish I could try this right now just to see what would happen. But Jeremy, he's running third. He's still got a podium, 1 lap down. Right behind him in the 9 truck, Tyler Travis. They're currently both 1 lap off the pace, so that's easily overcomable if you get, a caution or 2, which, may be a long stretch, but hey, at least Jeremy's in position for the lucky dog. And then you still got the 54 on track of Andrew Kahn and 6 of Chris Mason. He's still out there logging laps, a little slower than the rest of the field, but he's still out there, 6 laps off the pace, currently occupying the 6th position.
6th and final position on the track right now. And that looked like there was about to be an issue with Clayton White that I just saw for a couple moments right there. Still leading the race, 6 1/4 seconds ahead. Just crossed the line, lap 75, a 125, a little over halfway finished with this one. Just trying to slowly add to his gap. So that being said, I'm going to reset. Matt and I'll be right back, and we'll try to finish this one strong, as it's been going really quick. Run time, only about 30 minutes in this one, over halfway there. We'll see you in just a couple moments. All right, we are back now. Coming to lap 80 of 125, shows all Clayton White 7.5-second lead over Brian Whitney. The rest of the cars are a lap down. Andrew Tunn coming down pit lane right now. Not gonna. This one's just not gonna work out for him either, unless we see a caution. Which, when you're in this scenario, Matt, nobody wants to be the driver that brings up the caution because there's only 6 cars, and just kind of look bad if you're that guy. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's completely in a different limelight. In a normal race where you have 20, 30 competitors out there, sometimes you're praying for a caution. You need a caution. Tonight, you don't want to be the guy because you're going to be the talk of, hey, there's 6 guys out on the racetrack and you had to be the one to spin, ha ha. So it's a lot of negative PR, bad publicity. Any other time you're out there racing, the way that racing just plays out, the strategies, the different, the angles and the different, synopsises that carry out, you need cautions. You're going to try to do something that the other guy isn't, especially if they're faster. But tonight, you don't want to be the one to go out there and lollipop it because you're going to have the dunce hat on the rest of the evening.
Yeah, you're gonna be kind of the first being made fun of. But right now, we got 2 cars left on the lead lap. That's Clayton White, Brian Whitney. Whitney class of the season with 4 wins, plenty of top 5s, and the most dominant car all year long. Clayton White still hasn't pulled off his first win of the season, but things are looking pretty good for him right now, barring any kind of major mistake in the next 45 laps of this one. So we're just going to kind of watch these cars just go round and round and round here at Richmond, which really is a hard track to drive. The trucks kind of mitigate that a bit, a little less horsepower. They're a little bit easier getting off the corners. But I mean, it's still not an easy track to drive.
No, it's not an easy track to drive at all. And you're right, the trucks do help absorb some of that up with the longer wheelbase and the downforce that they make, and the less horsepower too. So you don't have to be as smooth with the throttle, be able to pick it up on exit. But compare this truck to an ARCA car, and this ARCA car on this racetrack, driving competitive laps, you're having to work each and every circuit around that racetrack. By the time you're done with 300 or 400 laps, you are absolutely exhausted. Yeah, a lot of times that catches younger drivers by surprise. You just don't realize how much a short track will work you. This one here will put you through the cooker.
I'm trying to think back to when I raced more than managed a team of broadcasters. I think it was Richmond. I think it was here that I ran a long race. I think it was 250, 260 laps. It was long. It went on and on and on. And this is simulated racing. And now everyone's going to call me a wimp. But, by the time I finished, like, my ankle kind of hurt a bit. Pressing the clutch in, pressing the brake in, pressing the clutch in, pressing the brake in, clutch, brake, clutch, brake. And you got 2 different corners that you're doing this in, and you got Clayton White and Brian Whitney on pit road now. Let's see how these guys do getting off. This is going to probably determine the race. But, you 250 laps, and you got 2 corners to do. That's 500 different times I'm pressing the clutch and the brake, or clutch and the brake, and I'm like, ow. My ankle wasn't really ready for all that. So, I can see you getting kind of worn out. And, and it wasn't because it was just hard to push, but it's just over and over and over doing the same thing. You get tired a little bit. Or the more or less they get, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like they get stuck. You might know, Matt. You're a middle-aged man. When your muscles or it feels like your bone gets kind of caught and you gotta force it through.
I got you. I'm quickly approaching 40. Not 40 yet, but quickly approaching 40. And you're right. Sometimes, when you're 25 and you turn 300 laps on iRacing, yeah, you don't feel it in the hands. Now at 30 plus, your hands may be a little crampy. And you won't say, oh, I'm just overexcited, gripping the wheel too hard. You're not. It's the same setting. It's just age. But yeah, Jonathan, I'm there with you too. And you know what? I don't want to go down this. This could be a wormhole because all these guys at home, it's e-racing. Oh my God. First of all, if you got the right wheel, you can set a ton of force on that thing to mimic a race car. So if you really want to give yourself a workout, you can make, in all actuality, you can make that wheel just rip out of your hand at any point in time if you want. But yeah, I've been there 300-400 laps. You know, my arms are screaming at me because I'm gripping the wheel too tight. My knees hurt. You know, my feet hurt because I never set the adjustment on the seat. I just jumped in and go. Is it comparable to real life? Absolutely not. But yeah, you get some of the same things in sim racing that you do in real life racing, just not to the same degree. You always got that reset button. When you're strapped in a car, I mean, you're pretty much holding on until you wreck out or it's done.
And so we're at 102 laps, and on this one, we're going to be done in well under an hour for this race. Not many incidents that we've seen on track. A couple drivers clicked the wall. In fact, I only think it was number 7 of Jeremy Grand. I think he was the only one at this point, but that's kind of to be expected. This is a tough racetrack, and things don't always go totally according to plan.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's not according to plan right now. Looking up at the scoring pylon and seeing Tyler Travis out there leading this thing. There you go, buddy. I see ya. Started 6th, currently 1st out there.
But what I want to know is, where or what happened to Clayton White? I didn't see whatever must have happened to him, and unfortunately, I'm not really able to go back and see it either. And he went from leading to now all of a sudden Brian Whitney's leading, and Clayton White's 34 seconds back with less than 20 laps to go, and something's going to happen again.
I don't want to speculate, and I did not see what happened to him. It could have been a variety of different things. Maybe, you know, he could have stopped out there on the racetrack and said, hey, I want to see how long it's going to take me to run these guys back down and give up a win. No, probably didn't do that. I know we got replay and a couple other ways we can find out, but I did not see what happened out there on the racetrack. But Jonathan, I don't think he's just going to pull over and, you know, let these guys go by, you know, especially with that type of differential. Oh, someone just dog hooked it. Chrome horned the outside retaining wall. Oh my God.
Wow, that's going to change a lot.
I mean, that truck just snapped quick, fast, in a hurry. I mean, that was violent. Holy cow.
And try to pull up and see what happened here.
Something goes amiss.
Oh,
with
yeah,
Brett.
he tried not to slam into Tyler Travis right there.
And that truck just abruptly changes direction. Probably haven't thought about much about checking the brake bias, or maybe you've been out there doing a little test and tune, and the minute you really got to get on those brakes, I mean, I haven't seen a truck redirect like that fast. Wow, that is just incredible, Jonathan.
Yeah, that's really... I mean, I understand how it happened. He locked up the rear tires trying to stay out of the way of Tyler Travis. Clayton White's going to get to come around here. He's not out of this one by any means whatsoever, which that's pretty exciting, I've got to say, because we're going to get to see what happens for him. Because, I mean, he was pretty dominant for this one, and it's really doing a good job. So curious to see if he can get it done here. Because, you know, it's always been something happening the last couple times.
Right. That's been the Achilles heel. That's been the monkey on the back, per se. He's done everything right. He's put himself in position. He's executed on pit road. He's raced smartly. He's, you know, let guys go when it mattered. He's made positions up when he needed to. Just for whatever reason, that checkered flag has put some more bad voodoo on that 76 machine than I could think of in most drivers in their lifetime. But you got to think tonight, I mean, it's set for Brian Whitney. I mean, how many times can this man compete consistently and perform and not get into victory lane? He's back up front. He's 76 leading the way. We're at lap 110. Brian's going to go out there. He's going to win this thing. He's going to punch through tonight, Jonathan. I'm going to say it now.
Well, Brian's 1-4. I think you're talking about Clayton. Yes.
Yeah, Clayton White. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, no big deal. I'm just making sure we're talking about the same guy, and I figured that we were, but
yeah, I was looking to see if I could find any damage on the 76, and just in the moment talking, I said his name, and hey, we're all human. If you're gonna make those types of mistakes, hey, tonight's the right time to do it. So, Jonathan, we're going to reset the field here, right? We're going to have 76 on point. Tyler, Travis, the 9 machine, he's kind of up there. Where did he come from, if you will? He's going to occupy position number 2. Clayton White. Off the flag drop, that man was FAST fast. And here we are again now. He's not in second, he's in third, falling back a little bit. Caution flag, we didn't see that coming. Let's see if history continues to repeat itself or if a different chapter gets written. But I'm still staying with what I said. The 53, he's going to come through tonight with the clutch performance of the race. He's going to break through. But so many other things can happen, but that's just my gut feeling. I think tonight's the right time for him to break through and get his first win right here in the Fuel Fired Up Series as the green flag drops back on the racetrack. Pushing it through the hammer on the floorboard, Brian Whitney, he's going to bring that truck up to speed, going through the gearbox, rotating that truck around the center of the corner. He's going to fire off, get the preferred line as he's going to retain the lead comfortably over the 53 of Clayton White. He skips over the 9 of Tyler Travis. 53, Clayton White. It's time to resume full-on battle out there on the racetrack between the 53 and 76. Your 2 primary favorites to battle it out for the win right here at Richmond International Raceway, Jonathan.
yeah, really it's gonna be fun watching the end of this one as we come down to it. And Brian Whitney, Clayton White, it's just gonna kind of be up to both of these 2 guys to see how this one turns out. Really entertaining, I must say, because I don't want to say I'm rooting for somebody, but in a sense, I really want to see Clayton White finally come out of here with one of these, as we watched him be so close several times now, and it just has yet to really work out for him. And this is the Droppin the Hammer 125 brought to you by the Fraser's Place. This would be a good opportunity to do it. But and you see him right there. He's driving in real deep into turn 3 with 10 laps to go. There's just something about Brian Whitney. It's almost like he just sits around, kind of waits till it's go time. And then once it's go time, he's off. It's just off to the races right here. But, Clayton White, he's within striking distance. So we're just going to have to see if he can get there. And last time he almost got there, but it just didn't quite happen for him.
Yeah, it's almost been like you blink or you sneeze and, oh, there's something else that happens that knocks me out of the race that I didn't foresee. It's almost been like clockwork in that aspect. But, the 53, okay, so he's maintaining that differential. He's not falling back as much as he was last week. He's within striking distance. He's got a good line. He's running the top side of the racetrack right now. He's able to rotate the center pretty good. Truck looks stable, comfortable on throttle on exit. Not seeing a big wiggle. Right now you still got some time before you really gotta, pull flags forward or set military power and set the afterburner, to go out there and run down the 76 for the win. So why not sit a little bit? Save your stuff. Make Brian go out there and burn his stuff up for a change.
Well, you're not wrong, but if you don't do something now, Brian's going to run away with it. And we thought that Clayton White was the class of the field here, but I guess what Brian Whitney did is he just sat around and didn't burn up his tires at all. But, they had 3 sets of tires. Ooh, wow, there's some tire smoke right there off Clayton White trying to really get into the corner. and just driving it in, and then Whitney just wraps around the middle better and gets off the corner a little bit better. But I don't think you got much of a choice other than try to run around here and try to get your bumper on the rear of Brian Whitney and hope for the best. And oh, he's getting close. He's getting close.
Yeah, that was right there. Check your Charmin moment of the race tonight, right out there as you were talking about it on full display there, Jonathan.
Oh, he was touching him there. He's only got 2 more laps to make something happen right now.
Yeah, you got to boink him at some point. I mean, you're sitting there running 1-2 all race. How bad do you want it? These guys typically race clean, but you know what? There's 6 guys out there on the racetrack. You know, little bumping and banging. Hey, that's not a bad thing right now. It's good to see these guys.
We're coming to 1 lap to go. There's a bump right there. David White in the chat says you got to pick your spot. So, David, I sure hope he picked a spot, and I think he's gonna. It's not gonna. I don't think we're gonna see it. I think we're gonna see Brian Whitney win his 5th race of the season. Final lap is out into turn number 1. Gap is 0.3 of a second. Coming down the backstretch, you see Clayton White getting all sorts of sideways, just desperately trying to get there. And it's just not going to happen. Brian Whitney is going to be your winner after another race dominated by Clayton White to come up just short once again. 2 weeks in a row now. That's brutal.
I guess I'm a little lost for words right now. I really would have thought, that Clayton would have forced the issue a little bit more there. I mean, he hasn't had a win all season. He was right there. I mean, I don't even think, Brian Whitney would have been upset if he even put the bumper to him per se. But, there you have it. Just for whatever reasons or things that are not seen at bay, the 53 comes up in the runner-up position again tonight here at Richmond. Jonathan, I can't believe it. I'm beside myself. I thought he was going to get a W tonight. I was very certain.
Yeah, I thought the way we saw him running in the beginning it was gonna turn out like that myself. But now I'm starting to see a trend. Brian Whitney just doesn't feel like he has to run as hard as he can all race, and he was content with being 6 seconds behind Clayton White for a while, and something happened. Clayton White ended up being a lap down, and they got that late caution. Clayton White's back in the race, and he tried, and he couldn't get there. So we're gonna have a couple interviews, Matt, and I'm gonna leave them to you. You're a little bit more entertaining with the interview questions than I am, I think. Whenever you're ready to start pulling drivers in, feel free to do so.
There, Jonathan. Real quick, I got to throw my dad hat on for a second, and my son needs a drink. Horrible timing, but hey, that's broadcasting. Guys, give me 10 seconds. Let me get him a drink, and I'll be right here as we run down your top 3 finishers here tonight. All right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. I apologize, but sometimes, 4 or 5-year-olds, they just don't understand when you're working. But Jonathan, you still here with me?
Of course, I haven't gone anywhere. I'm trying to bring Brian Whitney in for an interview, so whenever you're ready to grab him, go ahead.
I'm lassoed up and ready to go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with tonight's winner here at Richmond International Raceway. No surprise to this man, the 76, putting everyone in the series on notice. Brian Whitney, he's your winner here tonight. Brian, almost kind of like a repeat of last week. Shorter field tonight, only 6 competitors. You and the 53 kind of duped it out a little bit. He was quick early on, and you're fast, bad fast when it counts, and you get the W. He comes home second once again. What was it like from your perspective tonight?
It was, I think, a stroke of luck, to be honest with you. We didn't have the truck to be up front, and getting that track position on that restart is, so beneficial in these trucks. And, it was definitely a stroke of luck getting that first place position on the restart.
And I know sometimes when you have, only 6 cars on the racetrack, and I'm sure what you're referring to is if you had the, typical, 15, 20 competitors out there, it would have been more challenging and more difficult for you to, to keep that truck up there in contention. But I mean, that's what you do, though. You always find a way to get your equipment to overperform. You always find a way to get just a little more performance out of your vehicle, and that always puts you in contention. It gets you back to victory lane. Hey, winning's winning. I mean, did you do anything different tonight? Did you try maybe running longer than you normally would on tires just to see how far you could stretch them out? Play with the brake bias at all?
Yeah, so I knew the 53 was going to stay out as long as he could and wait for me to pit. So I tried to pit strategy him, try to get him to run out of fuel and pit before me. And it didn't work that way, but I did notice my truck was running tight, so I made some adjustments in the pits, which helped loosen it up a little bit and make it a little bit better on the bottom. But all in all, that was a fun race. I really enjoy running against 53 and door to door. And what everybody doesn't hear is he and I are talking to each other the whole time, laughing and enjoying the race. So a lot of fun racing with Clayton.
Yeah, I mean, it's even better if you got someone, out there racing with you that you have a lot of seat time and you could have a lot of fun out there on the racetrack, and you're not going to wind up in the fence. But you heard it. The 76 machine, he tried some other strategies, threw the dice at it, tonight was the right time to do it. Brian, you got another W, got a solid point or solid hold in the points battle, currently occupying that P1 position. Who do you want to thank on that 76 machine tonight before we cut you loose?
Definitely Clayton and Tim at TLTM, all my teammates at TLTM. Just a great group of guys, and we run a lot of practice together. So huge thanks to all of them. All of our sponsors, Whitney Nation, my lady, and
I like how you said that. It's how I refer to mine. I call her my lady.
And just thanks to everybody who supports what we all do on this sim racing. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting it. We appreciate it.
And we appreciate you and the rest of these guys in the Fuel Fired Up series. We look forward to it each and every Thursday night right here on SRM. There he is tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Your winner, Mr. Consistent, Brian Whitney, does it again here at Richmond. Well, Jonathan, that's 1 down, and I believe we got 2 to go.
Just 1 to go. We got to talk to Clayton White, who's in the channel with us now. And Matt, I'm going to leave this one to you again. But Clayton, once again, so close, and it comes down to the end.
Yeah, speeding on pit road bit me there. I hit 41 miles an hour once in one section, and it got me. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
That's what it was. But then you got another shot at it, and it still didn't work out. I'm not supposed to play favorites, but I'd like to see you win one when you keep being right there.
You got to lose them first to win them, I guess.
That's most definitely the case. Go ahead, Matt.
Clayton, Matt Metler here. I thought tonight was your night, man. I said it and I owned it right out there on the broadcast. And hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I thought tonight was your night. I thought you were going to break the curse, ditch the voodoo. Maybe you left it at home or in, Pandora's box before you hit the racetrack. And I thought you were going to punch the ticket. And yet tonight, just sometimes things you can't control that happen out there on the racetrack. Certainly you can control pit road. But I mean, once again, great points day. Highly competitive out there on the racetrack. Anything you could have done different than that pit road speeding penalty? Was that the nail in the coffin, or what caused you to not be in P1 when the checkered flag fell?
That's really what kind of cemented it, because I knew once Brian got out there, it was going to be another tough go getting by him. I almost had him. I could have had him, but I laid off once because he checked up just enough, and I got into the back of him, and I was like, so I just let him collect it, and then I just settled in for a second because I lost my momentum to get another run at him. It's too late.
Gotcha. So if you would have deployed the full Mortal Kombat style finishing move, you would have won the race, but because of that mutual respect, you just decided to do it another day.
I don't like winning them that way, and it was good hard racing. We were having fun. We had fun at the beginning there, and then I just kind of overdrove his stuff that one corner in the beginning, and I was able to get away. And once I can hit my line and run my own and hit my marks, then I kind of just started checking out from him. And then that restart, I knew I had to be close on him in order to get the pressure on him to make him slide up, and he just didn't slide up when I needed him to.
Well, hey, like you said, and it's anyone that watches this series knows that you guys take professionalism very seriously, and you all race each other clean and with respect. And I totally get and understand what you're referring to. I wouldn't dump my best friend either for a win, but once again tonight, just for me, sometimes beyond his control, but it's right around the corner. It's coming, Clayton White. Hang in there, man. The 53 comes home just a little short tonight in the second place position.
Yeah, I'm just hoping Charlotte will hopefully turn our luck around. I like that track. We have a pretty decent set already for there, so I'm hoping that'll be the one.
So you got that track circled on the calendar previously.
Yes, sir.
There you go. So now you're motivated. A little extra pep in your step this week.
Yeah, 2 weeks of Brian getting the best of me, so I think hopefully I can return a favor here next week.
Oh, okay. I don't want to read into it too much, but could be things on the horizon, folks. A little bit of extra insight from Clayton White. Before we cut you loose, Clayton, who do you want to thank on that truck? I know you got a lot of different men and women that help you out week in and week out on that truck.
Yeah, all the sponsors that came along this season. Fraser's, I ran their paint scheme today. Brought me some pretty decent luck, so shout out to them for helping us out for the season. My wife was out there watching. Mom and Dad's out there watching. And everybody else who contributes to the sponsorship of this and gives us something to enjoy and gives you guys hopefully out there and that are watching a good show and a little entertainment, how kind of break up the monotony of the day. And yeah, that's about it. And for you guys sticking around week after week broadcasting, I know our count's been down truck wise, but we still try to put on a decent show. Hopefully we'll get a couple trucks brought back in before the end of the season.
Yeah, but you really do put on some really good racing. This is, I think this is just kind of one of those odd nights out. And it just kind of shows on both ends, really, on the racing side, and then on our end, eventually just kind of run out of stuff to talk about and run out a little dead air. But
yeah,
racing here is good, and I enjoy the shows, and there will be trucks, so I'm excited.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll get a better show, a better turnout for Charlotte, and hopefully put the 53 in victory lane.
That works. Folks, that's Clayton White. Clayton, thanks for being here. I hope you enjoy your night, and we're going to wrap this one up.
Yes, sir.
All right, 6-car field. That's going to wrap it up at Richmond. Kind of interesting race. There wasn't a lot of action. There was one caution. Nothing too fancy happened. took a couple breaks because it just wasn't a lot to talk about until the end of the race. And that's the whole point of the Fired Up Esports League. We like to call them fuel, fuel on the fire. Last 15 laps, Brian Whitney, Clayton White. It was another outstanding performance. And it's going to end with Whitney on top once again for his 5th win in the season. Clayton White, oh so close. Then Tyler Travis, Andrew Tunn, Jeremy Grand, and Chris Mason. That's going to round out the field. We will see you next Thursday at Charlotte, where Clayton White called a shot. He did the whole call a shot. We're going to see what he's got for these guys coming Charlotte next week. So look forward to a good one next Thursday night, and we'll see you then.